What we're looking at today is two pairs of Dunk Highs, but for me, they totally break the recent mold. Of course, it's the Dunk line, so it's been all over the place with materials and design and collaborations and stuff like that. If you look at the history of Dunk since 1985, 35 years of this iconic silhouette going into its 36th year in 2021. So it's been all over the place, but the recent Dunk Highs have been very one particular thing going on, and these guys break that mold and break that sort of pattern that we've had in recent times. We'll get into that today, and we'll also get into the materials used to make these guys and the hits of branding on them. So without further ado, let's get into this and take a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Nike Dunk High Notre in brown and blue. This is a Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Sneaker Channel です。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases and sneaker reviews and sneaker news. And today we've got in the spotlight an upcoming release on January the 21st of two Nike Dunk Highs in collaboration with the NOTRE line. Now, I'm only going with what I know. I'm out here in Tokyo, Japan. I don't know much about this brand at all, and I don't know about its pronunciation. Now, it could be Notre or Notre or something like that. But I'm going with the cathedral in the center of Paris and the American college Notre Dame, and so I'm saying Notre, and if I'm pronouncing it wrong, totally apologize for that, but that's where I'm getting my take on this shoe. But we're going to be getting into today and talking about what's going on in there, why I think it's a difference, a change in the recent history of the Dunk High line, and the materials used to make these guys and all the different little hits. And then there's that one particular hit on these guys that I should have known about, I didn't notice, and when I finally did notice it, I was just like, whoa, that is super, super cool. So let's get into all that today and take a look at the upcoming release of these two colorways. There's the light brown Oakwood and the blue Void, but I'm not going to try and churn out the names, the full names of these sneakers each time. I'm just going to go with brown and blue, and we'll keep things simple. So let's get into that and let's talk about it and look at the details on these guys and why I think they're a departure from recent Dunk Highs. So I'll bring up something behind me here. I don't know which it will be, but a recent Dunk High. And for me, there have been an awful lot of shoes like this. Not all of them, but an awful lot of these shoes coming out from the Dunk line in recent memory. And what I'm talking about is standard leathers and pretty much a two-tone upper in a very standard construction of the shoe. So you'd be looking at something like yellow and black, for example, or something in that kind of standard colorway. Standard materials, a very sort of OG feel to the shoe, and that has been the recent sort of history of the Dunk Highs and the recent story of that line. So when I see a shoe or two pairs of shoes like these coming out today, and they're playing a little bit with the structure of the shoe, and they're also playing quite a lot with the materials that go on top, it feels like something new, something fresh, because we've had so many of these OG style Dunk Highs in recent memory. It's great to see them going with something along these lines. So that's what I mean when I said at the top of this video about what it is that's changed, from recent memory, or has broken the mold a little bit of recent memory, because that's where I think we have been with the Dunk High line, and I like where we're going with these guys. So without further ado, let's get into this, and we'll chop and change between the blue and the brown ones as we look at the different features on these shoes and the important things to take note of. First things first, let's start with the materials, and it's surely easiest to look at the blue version to see where the materials are going, because there's basically two materials. There's a third interesting hit of material that we'll come to later, but we'll stick with the two basic materials. And what we're talking about is hopefully showing up pretty clearly on the green screen behind me here, is that the underlays or the panels on the shoe are in solid leathers. Now I did read light blue, but to me I see more grey than blue in these. And then the overlays on the materials in this are in hairy suede, and like I say, hopefully I found the right picture on the green screen behind me here to give you that contrast between those two different layers of material, the lower layer down being the solid leather, and then the higher layer up being that hairy suede, and you'll be able to see that. I think it's very cool. I really, really dig it. I'm glad they went with the hairier version of suede. I think it gives these guys a little bit more character, and especially in subdued colors like the blues and the browns that they've gone with on these shoes, I think it really works in that hairy suede. So it's a very big yes for me. as far as the materials on the uppers are concerned. And what's also a very big yes in the world of materials is the laces, because it's not very common to see Dunk Highs come with laces with flecks of colour in them, but in both the blue and the brown variants of the shoe, you can see that the laces have a little bit more design, a little bit more thought in them, a little bit more colour, and that really brings out the shoe as well. So when it comes to the materials, they're two really main points. But my favourite place to look at for the materials, and this is the third material that I sort of hinted at earlier, you've got the leathers, you've got the hairy suedes, but if you go around to the heel, there's two things I want to look at. There's a sort of random mesh or canvas patch, almost like a sort of hooded eye deep in the back of the heel there, and then reaching out from that is the pull tab, which is in the same material. And there's something about that that just really does it for me. Often this kind of detail would really bug me, that it's in contrast to the narrative of the shoe and it doesn't fit with the rest of the shoe, but there's something about that little kind of elongated panel and then the matching pull tab that comes out above it that I just really dig. And it's an extra third layer of color and third layer of material on these guys that I just think really works and really works well. Now earlier in the video I got into saying about a detail that I didn't realize until I was researching the shoe to bring it to you guys, and I was lucky to see it because I hadn't noticed it until I found this picture right here. And hopefully you're noticing it now for the first time and you're thinking, whoa, I didn't notice that. That's a very cool feature. And it's something to do every so often that the Nike line is play around with the structure of the swoosh. And in the case of this one here, is only on the medial side. If we go to the lateral side swooshes on either one, you'll see that they're in that hairy suede that goes with the rest of the shoe. But back to the medial side, it looks black on the blue ones, but it's actually a deep blue, and then on the brown ones it's a tan or a deep brown, a deeper brown that goes with the colour and the narrative of the shoe. But the important point is the physical structure of it. And if you look towards the back where the swoosh is starting to thin out a little bit, you can see some bumps going on there, and hopefully it's showing up clear enough on the green screen here that what that is actually two hands doing a handshake in the middle of the swoosh, only on the medial side. Like I say, the lateral side has the suede, the hairy suede swooshes, but on the medial side, different material and that motif of handshaking, which I think is very cool. And that matches the other Notre motif on these. The idea that the lateral swoosh is different from the medial swoosh is repeated up on the tongues, where you can see the Notre branding only on the left shoe and not on the right shoe. And that's a similar sort of vibe that's going on with the swooshes down below, that it isn't on both sides, it's only on one part of the shoe. And on the blue variant, the Notre is kind of subdued a little bit and fits in, but on the brown ones, because of the red that goes in there and plays around with these shoes a little bit, it gives you a little bit more pop. And then the last thing to really do is, we can have a quick look at the outsoles on both, which are very standard and very block coloured. But what's more interesting than that to me is the midsoles, which come in sail. And the reason that's interesting is because it feels like every shoe I talk about at the channel these days has sail, and there's somewhere from a full-on sail colorway to hits a sail in places like the midsole, and that's what we're looking at here on the midsole. And it's especially obvious on the blue ones, and you see that sail midsole, which is a very common thread at shoes around the Nike line, especially these days. So, and that's a great way for me to finish up this video and just to tie it all together. So two really nice Dunk Highs. Dunk Highs in general are nice anyway, but these guys have a little bit more extra about them. Like I say, because the last few releases from the Dunk High line have had that OG sort of standard feel, when you come along with something like this, it's got a little bit extra. It's even more noticeable because of the previous history and the recent history. And these guys, for me, are a real elevation, taking the recent history of the Dunk High line and raising it up a little bit further. So very nice pair of shoes coming out on January 21st. Definitely recommend getting your feet into these guys if that's what you're interested in. They're a very cool pair of shoes and a very big yes from me. And with that being said, it's time for me to just sign off and finish up this video. So hopefully you enjoyed that look at these two Nike Dunk Highs, one in blue and one in brown. Let's see if I can remember the colorways. What was it? Blue Void and light brown oak wood or something along those lines. Hopefully you enjoyed the look of these guys. And then the final thing for me to do is just to say thanks for checking out the content as usual, and remind you that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.